do I think that ZBCN could hypothetically be a big narrative for this bull run? Even though nothing I say is financial advice, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And it's not only just because I could maybe see, ZBCN going to the price of 10 cents during this bull run, but even besides that, I feel like Zebec is really playing into the narrative as to what really people, I think, pay attention to, especially as of right now. Because traditionally speaking, right, when people want to believe in these projects that are focused on payments, global trade and finance, they usually take a look at Ripple, aka XRP, or Stellar, aka XLM. But then if they like AI, they usually go into more so these type of AI projects. But then the unique thing about Zebec is that it basically is kind of similar to XRP and XLM, but then at the same time, it has an aspect of AI. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, they had a post on X, and I'm talking about Zebec. And in that post, they were kind of showcasing their AI partners, and, they're not really that famous, in my opinion. Like, I've never heard about it. But then, it doesn't matter, because I think that we have to take a look at the intention of Zebec. For instance, they're kind of showcasing how payments can be integrated with AI agents in crypto. This is very fantastic, because if you think about it, not many projects out there are focused on AI-based PayFi. Now, PayFi stands for payment finance, but then Zebec is. If we take a look at something like Onyx, aka XCN, the ticker symbol, and traditionally, people don't really think about that as like a project that is similar to Ripple and Stellar, but then focused on AI a little bit. But then now it's kind of beginning to kind of showcase that aspect. And I think maybe a lot of it is coming from something like Zebec, which gained a lot of attention. And again, very similar to the market leaders, XRP and XLM, but then has an aspect of AI. So I think that Zebec is actually starting a trend, so to speak. And I do like this because, again, it's kind of combining two markets that people really like. Sometimes people take a look at that and they're like, oh, it's kind of gimmicky and all this. Well, in the world of cryptocurrencies, people don't typically care, as of right now, at least from what I've seen, about the adoption. Because let's face it, if we ask, hey, what's the adoption, example of Zebec? Many people would arguably say, oh yeah, it's the Zebec cards. But then there's many bigger cards out there than the Zebec card, you know what I mean? So Zebec doesn't necessarily have the best adoption of all time. But I don't think that really matters, because if people only focused on adoption, and that was like the key factor, right? And that was the only determining thing as to whether or not a project did good or not. I feel like a lot of the AI projects, blockchain gaming and all this, I feel like give or take around 90% of the famous ones that we know right now really wouldn't even be massive at all. But then again, we do see some massive ones. So then the way you take a look at it is that as of right now, people usually care about the narrative. They care more so about the anticipation. And I think Zebec is really, again, something like that, because it doesn't have the best adoption, but then it's focused on a narrative that people like, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen, right? Of course, there's a pullback when it comes to the price, but I'm saying at least to kind of showcase how these type of projects that have an aspect of AI, but then focus on global trade and finance and the payments market has been known to somewhat gain sort of attention. And the unique thing about Zebec is that, it's not like some of these other competitors that just try to kind of copy Ripple and Stellar. They're adding their own, I would say, unique touch. Again, like I mentioned before, AI. They're also focused on payrolls. They're focused on RWAs, right? Real world assets. And I think this is very amazing, because we have to take a look at what is an RWA, right? RWA stands for, again, real world asset, like I mentioned before. But then we have to take a look at RWA tokenization. More specifically, let's talk about RWA tokens, because they are digital representations of physical assets on the blockchain. Why is this a big deal? It's because they can be used in like markets, for instance, like real estate, for instance, stocks, bonds. We take a look at art. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. Again, a digital representation of a physical asset on the chain. So then that's really amazing, in my opinion. And now granted, something like Zebec isn't the only one focused on that, but then if we consider all the aspects that it has to it, I think this is something that could hypothetically maybe become, let's say if it does happen, a big narrative for this bull run. And I think even beyond too, because I think as long as the market leaders like XRP and XLM stick around, I think something like ZBCN is too, because ZBCN, again, despite the price drop, I feel like it's kind of already solidified itself as one of the major competitors when it comes to that. Because not too long ago, when I was seeing that ZBCN was kind of similar to those projects, many people didn't really view it that way. They thought, oh, the price is too low, the market cap is too low, and all this type of stuff. But then now, even despite the pump and the pullback, it still, I think, became so massive to the point that it now is kind of considered a viable alternative to those projects. This is just my point of view, because if, let's say, ZBCN goes lower in price, which of course it already did, but I'm just saying, let's say it goes a little bit lower, it still would be a lot more. Now, again, it depends how much it dropped, but let's say it dropped like 20-30%. It would still be a lot more than when I first started talking about ZBCN, and it's still a lot more than when before it had that pump, if that makes sense. So then, I think Zebec not only has kind of solidified itself, now it has the attention. Now all it needs to do is wait for a fully fledged pour, and that's it, because we saw what ZBCN did not too long ago without a fully fledged type of altcoin season. So if we do see that, what happened to ZBCN? 10 cents wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Now, at that point, considering current circulating supply and market cap would be around $8 billion, which is around a 22x from here. Now, I get it. Some people like to say this is not good, but really consider how something like XRP with a market cap that is well beyond $100 billion, I don't think that's doing a 15x, let alone a 20x. This is just in theory. And I'm not saying in 10 years or whatever. I'm just saying in the next 6 to 10 months, I don't think I could do that, because many people out there are saying that as a best case scenario, maybe XRP goes to like a $1 trillion market cap or something like that. But then that's still less than a 10x from where it is as of right now. The market cap is still well beyond $100 billion. So logically speaking, would I not believe in XRP? No, because of course it is the market leader as of right now when it comes to these type of projects. But then of course I want to really believe a lot more in something like ZBCN, because if I believe that this space is going to do well, why would I not believe hypothetically in projects that could maybe move a lot more as a result of the market leader doing good, if that makes sense? Because it's the same idea that I have when it comes to altcoins, because if I believe in Bitcoin as of right now, best case scenario, maybe it goes to 300 grand. Some people are saying less than a 3x from here. But then instead, why don't I believe in an altcoin? This is just my perspective. Again, I'm not telling anyone to, buy ZBCN, but then in my perspective, right? Instead of me believing in Bitcoin, why would I not believe in something that as a result of this doing good could hypothetically maybe do better in terms of percentage price increase? So again, this is kind of like my thought process here. And now, of course, there's no way to tell the future. So this is all speculation. Again, I don't have a magic crystal ball to tell the future. I don't have that. Even when I was talking about ZBCN back then, I didn't predict the exact moment in time it was going to pump. I thought it was going to happen later, maybe in theory, but then it proved me wrong in a good way. So then the way I view it is that I cannot anticipate when things are going to pump, but then at least we can take a look at some clues, and at least I think we can take a look at some reputable individuals who have something to say about this, because let's first start off with Charles Hoskinson. He's the co-founder of Ethereum and the founder of Cardano. Now, he said that back in November last year, he said 1 to 2 years from then, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. Now, let's just let that sink in. He said that 1 to 2 years from then. So imagine if Bitcoin reaches its worst case prediction for Bitcoin, which is $250,000. Now, what would happen to the price of ZBCN then? And let's say there is a fully fledged altcoin season. I don't see why 10 cents wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility in terms of what it could maybe do. However, again, only time will tell. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.